SpaceX launches the new version of Starship. Blue Origin's New Glenn finally lifts off and successfully reaches orbit, and NASA astronauts performing spacewalks on the International Space Station. This week was packed with epic events and stories from the world of space exploration. So, without any further delay, I'm your host Connor, and welcome to another episode of Spaceflight News. SpaceX's latest Starship mission, Flight 7, was... After a tense build-up, the mission kicked off with all signs pointing towards a successful launch, especially after SpaceX has reduced the fueling time by about 5 minutes. This is compared to previous flights. With the clock ticking down to launch, there was a brief hold at 40 seconds, a common procedure to ensure everything is ready for liftoff. Once cleared though, the countdown continued without any further delay, and for a moment, it seemed like everything was on track. At 2:01 PM Central Time, SpaceX launched Starship with its massive booster, Booster 14, and all 33 Raptor engines ignited perfectly. The rocket lifted off smoothly, sending the gigantic vehicle towards space, making it the second launch in under 2 months. SpaceX's effort to make the world's largest and most powerful rocket ever seem routine were becoming a reality, with the ascent being largely uneventful. However, things weren't entirely smooth sailing. At the 2.5-minute mark, as the upper stage of Ship 33 began its journey into space, Booster 14 made its return to Earth. A critical issue emerged during this phase. One of the 13 central engines on the booster failed to reignite. This raised doubts about whether SpaceX would go forward with the catch attempt, which had been a highlight of a previous Starship launch. The company's decision to proceed with the catch attempt despite the missing engine spoke volumes about their confidence in the booster's ability to perform under challenging circumstances. As the booster re-entered the atmosphere, something remarkable happened. Despite the missing engine, the booster was able to ignite 12 of its engines successfully. This allowed it to complete the return and landing sequence perfectly. The result was spectacular. Booster 14 touched down precisely as planned, landing in the arms of the catch system, a maneuver that had already been tested with Booster 12. The catch was very successful. Not only was it noticeably smoother than the first attempt, it completed the catch quicker and with more precision. SpaceX had, once again, proven their ability to execute what was once thought impossible and make it look routine. Once safely landed, however, the booster needed to undergo some quick interventions to prevent an overpressurization event. Flames flared up again as the booster was vented, but it remained intact. The booster was eventually lowered back into the pad, providing another win for SpaceX's ambitious reusability goals. SpaceX plans to conduct up to 24 more launches and booster catch attempts this year alone, continuing to test and refine this maneuver. While the booster was celebrating its second successful catch, the real drama unfolded with the upper stage, Ship 33. Ship 33 was designed as a prototype for the Block 2 version of Starship. It experienced a series of engine failures that ultimately ended the flight prematurely. Just 7 minutes and 38 seconds into flight, one of the center engines failed. A few seconds later, another engine shut down, leaving only one center engine running. Shortly afterwards, a vacuum engine also cut out, leaving only 3 engines functioning on one side of the ship. This imbalance likely caused the spacecraft to begin tumbling. The situation worsened as 2 more engines failed and telemetry was eventually lost. The spacecraft's descent towards Earth ended in rapid unscheduled disassembly, which was captured on Earth by dozens of civilians in these amazing shots you can see here. So what went wrong? SpaceX had made numerous upgrades to Ship 33, which was meant to represent the future of the Starship program. However, it wasn't quite the finished product that we thought. There were several noticeable issues that may have contributed to the failure. One such issue was a piece of hull or something attached to it that was observed flapping in the wind above the common dome. This wasn't a great sign for the spacecraft's integrity. More concerning, however, was the rapid depletion of liquid methane fueling the Raptor engines. Footage showed flames of propellant leaking from a flap hinge area, likely signaling a propellant leak between the tank domes and the fire shield designed to protect the engines. This leak caused pressure to build up inside the gap, which exceeded the structural limit of the vehicle and resulted in rupture. Elon Musk provided an explanation for the failure, noting that the solution would just involve inspecting for leaks in future spacecraft and adding a fire suppression system to the affected areas. These improvements are aimed at preventing the catastrophic pressure buildup that led to the failure of Ship 33. Furthermore, Musk revealed that the next generation of Raptor engines, the Raptor 3, would likely eliminate the need for such fire shields altogether, as these engines are designed to prevent such issues from occurring in the first place. Despite the setback, with Ship 33, SpaceX's journey with Starship continues unabated. Musk also hinted at changes to the future design of Starship, with Block 3 on the horizon. According to Musk, SpaceX might increase the height of the Starship by around 10 meters before tackling any changes to its diameter. This is a monumental shift because it could mark the first change to Starship's diameter since 2017, when the original design was scaled down from 12 meters to the current 9 meters. A potential increase in diameter would allow SpaceX to add more engines, boosting thrust efficiency. The Block 3 Starship, if it follows the design, would be taller and more capable than the current Block 1 and Block 2, with the possibility of carrying up to 300 tons to orbit. With these upgrades, SpaceX is positioning Starship to become a completely revolutionary vehicle in the world of space travel, possibly even breaking the record set by the Sea Dragon, the largest ever rocket imagined. And with each failure, they learn valuable lessons that will make each next flight even more successful. Looking ahead, SpaceX plans to proceed with a retry of Flight 7's profile for the next mission. Although it's expected that Flight 8 will not include a catch attempt of the second stage like was previously intended, due to the failure of Ship 33. SpaceX is likely to continue refining the regeneratively cooled tiles on future flights, while at the same time, the FAA will conduct an investigation into the mishap. Depending on the outcome of this investigation, the launch window for Flight 8 may be delayed. But as always, SpaceX's ambitious goals remain unchanged. Now, let's go down to news this week. After nearly 5 years of exploring the moon's far side, China's Yutu-2 rover seems to have ceased its movements. The rover, part of the Chang'e 4 mission, has been traversing the lunar surface since January 2019, making significant contributions to lunar science. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter images shows that the rover has not moved since March 2024, despite it initially covering up to 40 meters per lunar day. In 2023, its drives started becoming shorter before they eventually stopped largely altogether. While the rover was reported to still be functioning in September of 2023, the cause of its immobility remains largely unclear. The Yutu-2 rover's journey was a significant achievement for China's space exploration program, especially considering it was the first mission to successfully land on the moon's far side. This marked an important milestone in lunar exploration and remains a key part of the ongoing lunar studies, even as the rover appears to have come to a halt. Blue Origin's long-awaited New Glenn rocket successfully reached orbit earlier Thursday morning, lifting off from Cape Canaveral, Florida at 2:03 AM Eastern. The rocket's first and second stage performed as expected, with the upper stage completing a second burn to enter an elliptical medium Earth orbit. However, the booster failed to land on its designated platform in the Atlantic Ocean. Due to the more closed nature of the company, Blue Origin has yet to disclose exactly what went wrong during the booster's descent. But the failure to stick the landing is only a small setback for the company, which has spent more than a decade developing the vehicle architecture. New Glenn's first flight was delayed multiple times, with Blue Origin overcoming numerous technical challenges along the way. Despite the landing failure, the successful ascent and orbital insertion mark a significant milestone for the rocket, which is designed to compete in the growing commercial space launch market. Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp confirmed that a New Glenn launch could happen as soon as early of spring this year. Stoke Space, a company focused on developing a reusable launch vehicle, has successfully raised $260 million in the Series C funding round. This funding will support the development of the new Nova rocket, a medium-class launch vehicle, with a reusable first and second stage. Stoke Space's goal is to revolutionize the rocket industry by creating a rocket that can be reused multiple times, reducing the overall cost of launching payload into space on a small to medium-sized rocket. The company is also working on a launch site at Cape Canaveral to support Nova's development. While Stoke has not disclosed a specific launch schedule, the funding is expected to accelerate progress towards its first launch. This is a significant step for Stoke Space, positioning it as a serious contender in the rapidly growing space sector. The ability to reuse both stages of the Nova rocket has the potential to drastically reduce the costs and improve the frequency of space missions, which is why investors are showing such strong support. In a major achievement for India's space program, the space docking experiment SPA-Day-X mission's twin satellites successfully docked late Wednesday night. The docking, initially scheduled for the previous week, had been delayed due to technical issues, but the maneuver was successfully completed this week. The SPA-Day-X's mission is designed to demonstrate key docking technologies that will be necessary for India's future human spaceflight program, and its upcoming Chandrayaan-4 Lunar South Pole sampling mission, slated for launch around 2027 or 2028, will attempt to gather valuable samples from the Lunar South Pole, an area of significant scientific interest. This successful docking demonstration by ISRO, India's space agency, is a crucial step towards advancing the country's space capabilities. The ability to dock satellites in orbit is critical for future space missions, including those involving astronauts, and will be vital for India's planned lunar and human spaceflight programs. The Hubble Space Telescope, one of the most iconic and productive astronomical observatories ever built, faces potential budget cuts that could potentially impact its scientific operations and increase the risk of system failures. During a session at the American Astronomical Society conference this week, officials from the Space Telescope Science Institute, which operates Hubble, outlined how they are addressing potential reductions from more than 20% in Hubble's budget over the next few years. These cuts are part of a NASA senior review of astrophysics missions. If implemented, they could result in a reduced support for some Hubble instruments, a decrease in grant funding for astronomers, and an increase in the risk of technical issues due to a smaller staff running the telescope. The Institute has already made moves to reduce its spending on grants and public outreach programs to accommodate these planned reductions. While the Hubble Space Telescope will continue to operate for the time being, the potential cuts could limit its ability to contribute to major scientific discoveries in the coming few years. This situation underscores the ongoing challenges facing many space missions as funding priorities begin to shift. The European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft is concluding its science mission after nearly a decade of mapping the positions of nearly 2 billion stars. Gaia, launched in 2013, has been gathering data with unprecedented precision, revolutionizing our understanding of the Milky Way galaxy. However, the spacecraft is running low on nitrogen, which is necessary for station keeping to maintain its orbit around the Earth's Sun L2 Lagrange point. As a result, science observations will cease this week, and Gaia will be retired after completing final technical tests in March. Despite the end of its mission, the data Gaia collected will continue to provide invaluable insights into the structure, history, and evolution of our galaxy. 2 major releases of Gaia's data are still expected in the coming few years, allowing researchers to analyze and make use of the spacecraft's findings long after its mission's end. Gaia's legacy will continue to shape our understanding of the cosmos for many years to come. On Thursday, NASA astronauts Nick Hague and Sonny Williams conducted a 6-hour-long spacewalk outside the International Space Station to perform critical repairs. The astronauts focused on the NISA astrophysics instrument, replacing a rate gyro assembly used to control the station's altitude, and also worked on several other systems, including a reflector on the ISS's docking system. In addition to that, they inspected the alpha magnetic spectrometer, which is scheduled for future repairs. This spacewalk was the first conducted by NASA astronauts in over a year. The successful completion of these repairs ensures the continued functionality of key systems aboard the ISS, which remains a vital platform for scientific research and international cooperation in space. Rocket Factory Augsburg, RFA, a German space company, has received its first ever launch license from British regulators for its RFA-1 rocket. The UK Civil Aviation Authority issued the launch license this week, allowing RFA to conduct up to 10 launch licenses per year from Zaxa Ford Spaceport in the Shetland Islands. The issue is a significant milestone for the company, which is working towards its first ever test flight of the RFA-1 rocket later this year. However, RFA faced setbacks last August when its first stage was destroyed during a static fire test. Despite this, the company is moving forward with plans for its first operational launch, making the first vertical launch license granted in the UK. RAFA's success could play a key role in expanding the UK's space capabilities and make Zaxa Ford Spaceport a hub for future space launches. On January 13th, SpaceX launched a batch of 21 Starlink V2 mini satellites and 13 Starlink direct-to-cell satellites aboard Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. The mission also marked the 15th flight of the Falcon 9 booster B-1080, which successfully landed on the drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas. The next launch took place on January 14th, when SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket launched from Space Launch Complex 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This was the Transporter 12 mission, a rideshare mission carrying 131 different payloads into a sun-synchronous orbit. This was the 14th overall launch in SpaceX's small-sat rideshare program. The Falcon 9 booster, B-188, which was flying for only the second time, made a successful landing at Landing Zone 4 near the launch site. On January 15th, another Falcon 9 mission launched from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This time, the rocket carried 2 lunar landers, Firefly's Blue Ghost and iSpace's Hakuto R2. The mission was part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Service program, and the landers will head to the moon, with Blue Ghost landing near the Monla Trial area in the Mare Cassian Volcanic Basin, and Hakuto R2 aiming for a landing in the Mare Facundias region. This launch marked an important step for commercial lunar missions. In addition to the lunar landers, the Falcon 9 booster B-185, used for this mission, successfully landed on the drone ship Just Read the Instructions. This mission is part of NASA's plan to deliver payload to the moon, marking further milestones for SpaceX's contribution to lunar exploration. As we kick off into 2025, it's clear that the pace of space exploration is rapidly accelerating. This week alone, we've witnessed monumental achievements across the globe, from major rocket launches to pivotal milestones in lunar exploration. The year has just begun, but with so much activity unfolding already, it's an exciting time to be following the world of spaceflight. With more missions, innovations, and groundbreaking tests on the horizon, it's safe to say that 2025 is shaping up to be a year full of discovery and progress like no other. That will be all for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. On January 13th, China launched a Long March 3B rocket from Dongfang Hong Tangang barge off the coast of Yang. Oh my god. It's made up. It's bullshit.